Add-on desired.
Hello viewers, welcome to Adot Solutions Daily Current Affairs session. I am Lokesh Pengonda. This session is designed mainly for aspirants preparing for banking, groups and such other examinations in the entire country, and we take news articles from both the Hindu and the Indian Express, so make a use of it. We have an article talking about Dada Saheb Phalke Award being given to superstar Rajnikant. Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has recently announced for the year 2019, Mr. Rajnikant is awarded this prestigious award for his contribution as an actor, as a producer and also as a screenwriter. Now we'll see about the Dada Saheb Phalke Award. This is India's highest award in the cinema category. This award is given to the people for their outstanding contribution in the growth and the development of the Indian cinema. So for Rajnikant, as he was an actor, producer and a screenwriter, and he has been helping the movie industry from the last 50 years, this award has been given. It is present annually by the National Film Awards ceremony by the Directorate of Film Festivals. So every year this award is presented at the National Film Awards ceremony by the Directorate of Film Festivals, and this Directorate of Film Festivals comes under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Who is the Minister of Information and Broadcasting? He is Mr. Prakash Javadekar currently. This award consists of a golden lotus, a cash prize and a shawl. So this award will have a golden lotus, a cash prize worth 10 lakh rupees and also a shawl. Now we will see the background of the Dada Saheb Phalke Award and Mr. Dada Saheb Phalke. So Mr. Dada Saheb Phalke is an Indian filmmaker who directed India's first full-length feature film. This film name is Raja Harishchandra. It was produced in the year 1913. So for this reason he was regarded as the father of the Indian cinema. And when was the first Dada Saheb Phalke Award given? It was given in the year 1969. The first recipient of this award was actress Devika Rani, and she is widely considered as the first lady of the Indian cinema. Next we have an article talking about BIMSTEC. What is BIMSTEC? BIMSTEC stands for Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral, Technical and Economic Cooperation. So BIMSTEC. This was founded in the year 1997 through the Bangkok Declaration. So as you can see here, all the member countries of the BIMSTEC are either the littoral states or the littoral countries or those countries which are adjacent to the Bay of Bengal. So what are these countries? First is India, second is Nepal, third is Bhutan, fourth is Bangladesh, fifth is Myanmar, sixth is Thailand, seventh is Sri Lanka. So these 7 countries which are either in the littorals of the Bay of Bengal or adjacent to the Bay of Bengal are members of this regional grouping. So we should know the background of this BIMSTEC grouping. Initially this was formed with 4 members. So who are these 4 members? They were Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka and Thailand. So these 4 countries have come up with a grouping for economic cooperation alone. So it was called as BIST, which stands for BIST and economic cooperation, so EC, BIST EC. Later Myanmar was included in this grouping in the year 1997, so it was renamed as BIMSTEC. Later, with the admission of the countries of Nepal and Bhutan in the year, this was renamed again and later it was renamed as BIMSTEC. So these 7 are the countries which are members of the BIMSTEC organization. Next we have an article talking about Odisha's remarkable hat-trick. So what is this hat-trick talking about? This is talking about Odisha state government winning the best state award for promotion of sports. So Odisha government has been winning this award 3 times in a row for now, and this award is given for states which are promoting the sports. So under the best state award for the promotion of sports category, Odisha has been honored. So who is giving this award? This award is given by Sportstar ESS. So Sportstar ESS award are giving this honor to the Odishan state government. Next we have an article where Mr. Gadkari, who is the current Minister of Road and Transport, is stating that the highway construction in India is at 37 kilometers per day. In this image you can see the highway construction per day. It was 12 kilometers per day in the year 2014 and 15, and in the year 2016 and 17 it has increased to 23 kilometers per day, and in the year 2018 and 19 the highway construction per day on average was increased to 30 kilometers per day, and now in 2021 this was increased to 37 kilometers nearly per day. So this is a landmark, this is a record in India and also elsewhere. So you can note it down. So how can a question can be asked from this? It can ask something like, in India, average highway road construction is 30, 26, 37 or 19. So the answer will be 37. These are the kind of questions you can expect it. Next we have an article which talking about Pakistan freezing the plan to allow imports from India. Yesterday in our current affairs session we have seen how Pakistan has planned to allow import of goods from India, mainly of sugar and cotton, but within a day the Pakistani cabinet has reversed its decision and it again plans to block the trade between India and Pakistan. Next we have an article talking about Public Enterprises Selection Board. So what is this body and what does it do? This body was set up in 1987. Its main functions include selection and appointment of chairman, managing director, functional level directors of public sector enterprises. So what are the public sector enterprises? They can be public sector banks, they can be organizations which are under the control of the government such as Vizag Steel Plant, National Mining Development Corporation, Indian Oil Corporation of Limited and other public firms. So to appoint the high level executives of all these organizations, Public Executive Selection Board was formed, and this board will be responsible for the selection and placement of all these members in all public sector enterprises and also for other bodies which the government asked this body to do, and it is also responsible to provide advice to the government regarding the appointments, confirmation or extension of the tenure and termination of services for all these members. So not only it is responsible for selection and placement of these high level executives, but also it will provide the necessary advice to the government on their extension of services or termination of their services. Also it is responsible for advising the government for suitable performance appraisal system creation. So this body will advise the government on how suitable appraisal systems can be created and how these people can be given incentives, and also it advises the government for formulation and enforcement of the code of conduct and ethics for managerial personnel in the public sector enterprises. That is, it will help the government to formulate the policies and also the enforcement of these policies regarding the code of conduct and ethics of the top level management executives. Since 1987, this body is traditionally being headed by senior level bureaucrats or the government servants, but for the first time the government has appointed Miss Mallika Srinivasan. Miss Mallika Srinivasan. So who is Mallika Srinivasan? She is the current chairman and managing director of TAFE group. So what is this TAFE? This is India's second largest tractor manufacturing group. So for the first time an outsider who is not a government servant has been appointed for the position of Public Enterprises Sector Board, Selection Board, and in the image you can see Miss Mallika Srinivasan. Next we have an article talking about small saving schemes. The central government operates these small saving schemes through the public sector banks, through the postal offices, through 5 lakh small saving agents, and also through notified private banks. Through all these bodies and all these persons, the government aims to help the people so as to increase their savings. So what are these saving schemes? These saving schemes can be categorized or grouped into 3. What are these? First is post office deposits. Second is saving certificates such as National Saving Certificate or the Kisan Vikas Patra. Third are social security schemes, which can be Public Provident Fund, Senior Citizen Saving Scheme. So these are all saving schemes which are being operated by the central government through all these offices. The main aim of the government is to help the people to save some particular amount of their assets, of their income. So to save their income, the government is encouraging them to invest in all these schemes. Now we should note that the money which is collected through the small saving schemes are transferred to an account called as National Small Saving Fund. So to this fund, all this money which are collected under various schemes will be collected from, and this money comes into the category of public accounts of India. So in the public accounts of India, all this money will be collected under the category of National Small Saving Fund. Who will administer this? This is administered by Ministry of Finance. So this is the background of small saving schemes. Next we have an article talking about MGNREGS. In this article it is stating that nearly 11.7 crore individuals has availed the MGNREGS scheme in the year 2020 and 21. This was nearly 40% more compared to the previous year, in which nearly 7.8 crore individuals has availed this scheme. Now we will see what this scheme means. MGNREGS stands for Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Generation Scheme. When was it established and what was the objective of establishing or starting up this scheme? This was established in the year 2005 with the main objective of providing guaranteed employment of 100 days in every year to adult members of rural households who are willing to work for unskilled manually. What is this? This is stating that for every year there will be guaranteed 100 days work for all the adults who are willing to work in the unskilled labor work, willing to do unskilled labor work. This scheme is only applicable to the rural areas. So, if in a rural area there is an adult who is willing to work for 100 days or less than 100 days, then the government has to provide this minimum 100 days guaranteed work. So, what would happen if the government is not able to provide minimum 100 days of work for the rural household or the rural adult? Then the government has to pay unemployment allowance. So, how does unemployment allowance work? That is, let's say there is an adult in the rural household, there is an adult in the rural household and he demands work. If the government is not able to provide work within 15 days, then the person who has demanded the work have to be paid unemployment allowance. So, this is a landmark scheme which guarantees at least 100 days of work in the rural sector, in the rural areas for all adults. And also there are important provisions regarding this scheme. The scheme provides for 1/3 amount of beneficiaries to be women. That is, if the government is planning to take 99 workers under this MGNREGS, then at least 33 members should be women. This aims to provide employment opportunities in the rural areas to not only men but also to the women. And also it states that the wages that are paid under this MGNREGS Act should be minimum wages as specified in the state under the Minimum Wages Act. That is, this scheme provides job employment guarantee for rural areas for adults, not only for male but also for female, and there are provisions for 1/3 amount of reservation for women, and there is provision for unemployment allowance, and there is a provision for minimum wages. So, all these are important provisions when we are talking about MGNREGS. Next, we have an article which is saying that Italy had proceeded in the G20 summit of 2020. So, what is G20? G20 is also called as Group of 20. So, what is this Group of 20? This is an informal group of 19 countries and one organization which is European Union. So, this combinedly is called as G20. It is an informal grouping set up in the year 1999. So, what are the member countries or the members of this grouping? They are Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, European Union, which is an organization we have seen earlier, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, South Korea, Turkey, United Kingdom and United States. So, you can see here of the total 7 continents, countries from 6 continents are members of G20, because we have Australia also here. So, there are member countries from 6 continents of the whole 7 continents in the G20 organization. Also, we should note that G20 comprises of only the largest and advanced and emerging economies. That is, they don't have any underdeveloped nations in this grouping. This grouping comprises and represents the 2/3 population of the world. It represents 2/3 world population and 85% of global GDP. So these 20 member countries alone contains 2/3 world population and 85% of the global GDP. So this is of huge significance. Next we have an article talking about National Investment Infrastructure Fund or the NIIF. So what is this fund? This was a fund established to provide long-term capital to the country's infrastructure sector. So what is the need for providing capital to the long-term to the infrastructure sector? What is infrastructure sector in general? They may be roads, they may be railways, bridges and more. As you all know, it will take so many years to construct these, and even if you have toll gates for roads, it would take decades to collect all the money it has invested on. So the infrastructure company would require money for the long term, that is at least for 10 years to construct long roads in the country. So to provide long term capital to the infrastructure sector, the government through its other partners has brought in the National Investment Infrastructure Fund. This was set up in the year 2015, and in this fund the government hold 49% stake. So this fund will support the long-term capital requirements of the infrastructure sector of the country. So who are the other members who have stake? They are other foreign and domestic investors. They may be foreign banks, they may be foreign sovereign funds which are interested to put in their money in this fund. So government has 49%, 51% will be held by the private people or the private firms. And in the year 2015 this was set up, it was set up as a category 2 alternative investment fund, and these funds are across master fund, fund of funds, strategic opportunities fund. So what are these various funds which are part of the NIIF? These support infrastructure through various ways. The master fund supports the ongoing or the existing infrastructure firms, whereas the fund of firms aims to provide investment to those which are new in general, whereas the strategic opportunities fund invest in the infrastructure funds through equities. You don't have to learn all this, you just need to know that there are 3 funds which provides various types of support to the infrastructure sector, and you also have to know that it is registered at New Delhi, that is its registered office is at New Delhi. Next we have an article talking about World Health Organization. What is World Health Organization? It is United Nations Specialized Health Agency. This was set up in the year 1948, and this organization is headquartered in the country of Switzerland, yet the place Geneva. This organization currently has 194 member states. So what is the main objective and what are the main functions of the World Health Organization? The World Health Organization provides leadership on global health matters. It shapes the health research agenda. Also, it provides the technical support to the member countries, and it helps in monitoring and assessing the health trends in the world as a whole. So these are the main functions of the World Health Organization. Also, you should note that World Health Organization is an intergovernmental organization, and it works in collaboration with the member states, usually through the ministries of the health. So this is an international organization where the ministers of the health of various countries collaborate in the health sector, You also have to know that as this started working on the April 7th of 1948, this day is being observed every year, being celebrated every year as the World Health Day. That is, World Health Day is celebrated on April 7th every year. Next, we have an article which is stating that American Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, Mr. John Kerry, is visiting India. So you should only note that American Special Presidential Envoy for Climate is Mr. John Kerry. Next, we have an announcement. Visit our website www.adot.in to attempt daily current affairs based mock tests, and also we've started Telugu current affairs and it is being uploaded every day in the YouTube channel. So you can tell your aspirant friends regarding this channel. Thank you.
Adot Solutions. Add-on Desire.